Good guy, that Mike Garafolo. Yeah, we won't be seeing Aaron Rodgers in 2023, but for one final time, we get to hang out with our good buddy Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network. Mike, the Philadelphia Eagles currently experiencing something they haven't experienced since early in the 2021 season. That'd be a 3-game losing streak. And Mike, Jalen Hurts did not exactly calm the waters with these comments after that loss to Seattle on Monday.
We didn't execute. I don't think we're committed enough.
What do you mean by that, about being committed enough?
Commitment. I don't know that. I had a dictionary on me now.
All right, that's vague and not great. Philly's locked into the postseason, though, Mike, but at the same time, this is a team that, well, they kind of need to get their mojo back, don't they?
They do, and the schedule sets up perfectly for them to do that, at least to edge out the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is going to have to win one more game than the Eagles the rest of the way, and the schedules aren't comparable. The Eagles are going to be double-digit favorites likely in every one of these games here down the stretch. So they should win the division. The question is, do they have that mojo that you're talking about? Do they dictate things the way that they were used to seeing them dictate things, and they just haven't been doing it over the last month plus. Even when they were winning games, we kept saying this team is not winning the same way they were last year, and it's going to catch up to them. And they went through a couple of games in Kansas City and Buffalo, and they won the games. They're like, oh, it's not catching up to them. Well, here it is, and here we are now. Every team hits its lull, so the hope is that the Eagles, with Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator, and he did a really good job up until that last drive, and it's hard to assume a coordinator role in the middle of the season, that he'll get it going on that side of the ball, and then they're just going to have to find their way again on the offensive side. Jalen Hurts is making those comments. I don't quite know who he's talking about, and he was asked about that. That was my buddy Zach Berman, who covers the Eagles in Philly. I've known Zach for a while, so that was a fair follow-up question. It was met sarcastically by Jalen Hurts, saying, well, I don't have a dictionary. You can't just throw that out there and not expect that people are going to try to follow up on it and try to figure out what you're talking about. I'm sure players in the locker room looking at each other, trying to figure out what he's talking about. I did ask around and said, are there some lollygaggers around there? And everybody's like, no, there's a bunch of veterans who are hard workers and have always been hard workers, and they're trying to work their way out of it. So we'll see if the Eagles can do it. But you start talking like that, Jay, you're right. Not great when you're putting that out there.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be the Atlanta Falcons and Pittsburgh Steelers barely fighting for their playoff lives and about to make quarterback changes this late into the season. The Falcons going to Taylor Heineke. The Steelers turning to Mason Rudolph. Do you believe either of these moves will help these teams save their seasons?
I don't think so, because the Falcons are pretty much going to have to win out right now. And Taylor Heineke actually didn't play as well as I thought he was going to when he took over for Desmond Ridder earlier in the season. So even if he gives them a little bit of a spark, they're going to have to go on a run. They really choked it away here by losing to the Carolina Panthers the other day, the way that they did, with Ridder making a critical mistake. And Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Falcons, he made a bet on Desmond Ridder by committing to him as a starter and really not chasing any other quarterbacks in the offseason. We will see if he gets a chance to tell owner Arthur Blank, well, let me reset it and make a run at another quarterback, or if Blank says, you know what, I've seen enough, time to move on. That is definitely a situation we're watching as we get closer to the final Monday after the final week of the season, to see if Arthur Smith retains his job. As for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they love Mason Rudolph for some reason. They've kept him around for a while. The fan base is always like, is this guy really still here? And he gets another opportunity, potentially. Kenny Pickett's still going to try to play. My understanding was this was the game where Pickett had like a 25% chance and way more likely to return after this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to try to make it, but if not, Rudolph right now certainly better of an option than Mitchell Trubisky, who did not play well. And by the way, on the other side of this game, Jamar Chase got that shoulder injury. Zach Taylor called him day-to-day, but then he had his MRI. It actually took him a couple of days before he got his MRI, and the understanding that he got from doctors was maybe best for you to sit this one out, if not one more after that. So that is a tough one for the Cincinnati Bengals on the other side of that. The sliver of good news there for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they try to figure out the quarterback situation.
Okay, speaking of quarterback situations, Mike, little Canadian content. Nathan Rourke, Victoria, BC native, claimed off waivers from the Jacksonville Jaguars by the New England Patriots. Very exciting, because the Patriots quarterback situation is certainly not solidified in any way whatsoever. Is there a chance that the Canadian kid might actually see some reps this year?
I believe this is probably more of a long-term possibility for Nathan Rourke. A lot of people like his potential. You asked me about him a couple of weeks ago when Trevor Lawrence was injured, and I said that I was talking to a team about the possibility of the Jaguars plucking one of their quarterbacks off the practice squad, and they said, the guy they got now, Rourke, is way better than our guy on our own practice squad. So I know that's one general manager that likes him. I heard from another coach who likes him, and we're clear that the New England Patriots like him. Now, the Jaguars, if Trevor Lawrence can't go, needed a third quarterback. We're trying to get him potentially back to the practice squad through waivers, and the Patriots said, no, we like the potential here. So Nathan Rourke certainly has some people around the league that think he's capable of playing quarterback at the NFL level. So if it doesn't work out immediately with the Patriots, he's certainly got a long-term option potentially there and elsewhere as well. I believe that's what's going to wind up happening for Rourke, but nobody exactly taking the bull by the horns there in New England when it comes to the quarterback situation. So if he's a quick study, maybe he's on the field sometime before the end of the season, Jay. We'll see.
I mean, it seems like a clearer path to a potential starting job than trying to unseat Trevor Lawrence. That's just not going to happen. Mike, because we're closing in on Christmas, I wanted to ask you one last thing. What's one thing you've asked Santa for this year?
I hear a lot of songs about silent nights and peace, and I'd like my kids to just not wake up in the middle of the night, just sleep through the night. Let me get what is it, a long winter's nap? Just give me one of those, man.
Yeah. You look great in a stocking cap.
We've been grinding here as the season comes down, and kids, just let me sleep one night.
We're gonna get you you'll get your wife a kerchief. We'll get you a cap, and you can settle down for that nap. Yeah, and maybe a sedative for the children.
Yeah,
Mike,
but you know what's gonna happen when that happens. On the lawn, there's going to be such a clatter. Is that where?
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Exactly. That's the problem. It always leads to the clatter. Exactly. And then you got to get out of bed. You don't want to have to do that. Mike, you're the best. We love having you on the show so much. Happy holidays to you, and we will talk to you in the new year.
Thank you, Jay. If not, Santa, you got some whiskey. I'll take that, buddy.
Oh, that would be good, too. I know you're a big bourbon guy, like many of us. This is the odds for Thursday Night Football, courtesy of FanDuel. Rams 4.5-point favorites over the Saints. Massive game. Massive game. Both teams 7-7. Both teams in the thick of the NFC playoff race. You got to join us for the game beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, you got to join us for our show right after the game because Luke Wilson will be here to break it all down. We follow every NFL primetime game this season, except for the slate of holiday games this weekend, of course.